Some of my all-time favorite chips are Flamin Hot Cheetos. So I was very intrigued to see the new Hulu film that's based on the events that led to the game-changing snack food. This tells the inspiring story of Richard Montañez, who, as a Frito-Lay janitor, disrupted the food industry by channeling his Mexican-American heritage to turn Flamin' Hot Cheetos from a snack into an iconic global pop culture phenomenon. So I want to get this out of the way up front. There is a little bit of controversy surrounding the legitimacy and truthfulness of this story. Montañez has told this story countless times and published it in books, but I also read an LA Times article where it appears that the events did not happen the way Montañez describes them, according to Frito-Lay company archives and first-hand account interviews. So take that for what you will. I didn't approach this as a documentary, so if it's all true, all fiction, or a mixture of both, I was looking for an entertaining story about my favorite spicy snack. Eva Longoria directs this, and it stars Jesse Garcia, Annie Gonzalez, Dennis Haysbert, Tony Shalhoub, and Matt Walsh. The story is told via narration by Garcia, who portrays Richard Montañez, and he's got a great presence, not only when in front of the camera, but in his narration as well. The delivery is incredibly engaging and emotive, mixed with snark and humor that I think totally lands. And something I absolutely loved about some of the presentation of this is because we're seeing and hearing this from Richard's point of view, when he recounts some meetings where others are interacting, the conversations play out like in the Ant-Man movies, where Michael Peña's Luis is retelling the story, using his voice for each character and putting hilarious inflections on each. And then to add to the humor, the actors on screen are emoting to match the tone that's set by Richard. Now, I loved it, and we had several scenes that play out this way. It gave the story an almost self-aware tone because Richard knows he's telling us the story, so he interacts in the narration like we're in the room with him. Annie Gonzalez plays Richard's wife, and she shares an excellent dynamic with him. They have wonderful chemistry, and they feed off each other in ways that reinforce a loving and positive relationship, as well as displaying strength and resolve. Now, the movie's pretty short, at an hour and 39 minutes, but even with the short runtime, we get a lot of character development, so that Richard is a fully fleshed out person who we know rather intimately. A lot of his backstory is told in a sort of energetic montage that gives us a bunch of information in a short period of time, while also creating chuckles along the way. And by the time Richard gets the job at Frito-Lay, we've been on an emotional journey with him, seeing how he and his family encounter racism, and they still push forward. And while Richard isn't a character that everyone is going to share the background, he's enough of an everyman to make him extremely relatable. He's a hardworking guy looking for a break, and when he gets a small one, he works his butt off to try and improve, with the desire to advance and not stagnate. And I love the accessibility we're given with the character. I think it also helps us to engage with him and then empathize with his journey. Something else that I think makes this such an enjoyable story is the underdog nature of it. We see this dude at the bottom of the corporate food chain swing for the fences and then call the CEO of his company with a new idea for a product. And having Tony Shalhoub play Roger Enrico, the head of PepsiCo and Frito-Lay, I think is a wonderful casting choice. He's soft-spoken, but still emanates authority in a down-to-earth way. His characterization feels more lighthearted than the real guy is, but for the story, we didn't need a hard-nosed authoritarian head of a company. We needed somebody who could possibly champion the idea of someone who, by all rights, shouldn't have even been able to have a phone call with leadership. And Shalhoub, he delivers that persona well. Dennis Haysbert is also in this, and every time that man speaks, I just love listening to his smooth voice. But I also had a lot of fun with his gruff demeanor. He's got a very tough facade, but underneath, there's a slightly less tough interior. And that's where he shines through when dealing with Richard. Their chemistry feels natural, and the mutual respect that develops between the two feels natural in its growth. And at times, I liken this story to that of Rudy, an underdog who pretty much has everything stacked against him and yet continues to push through, allowing his determination and spirit to inspire those around him. And along the way, the story mixes in well-placed humor amongst the more dramatic and emotional moments. And I don't want you to think that this is all down and dour. There are serious moments that really speak to the heart, but this also had a lot of fun in the storytelling, using reality checks and the fantastical to provide upbeat emotions. I enjoyed the visuals in this and thought some of the ways Longoria used on-screen titles within the sets to provide time transitions were really well executed. There are also some very captivating and intimate shots that felt rather unique. One is when Garcia is speaking with Haysbert and the camera is circling around Garcia, but when it passes behind him, the frame captures both of the actors to show their proximity to each other and the body language that's being communicated. And all while the camera is still in motion, continuing to circle around Garcia. And when it captures his face in the center of the frame, it provides us a great look into his eyes to just see the passion and the emotion that's being conveyed. I was surprised with how much fun I had with this movie. The storytelling is easy and comfortable with a great mix of both drama and comedy. The characters are all charismatic with a lot of depth, making them interesting and enjoyable. Jesse Garcia is the standout, using wit and exceptional timing to engage while narrating and then captivate with his on-screen portrayal. And whether or not the story is wholly factual could be a hindrance for some, but because the narrative was inspiring, uplifting, and hilarious, the level of truth or fiction didn't really matter. There's no sex or nudity, some profanity, and a little bit of violence. I give Flamin' Hot 4 out of 5 couches. So do you like Flamin' Hot snacks? There are now so many varieties, but I'd love to know which is your favorite in the comments below. If you enjoyed this review, please give it a like. Also, don't forget to share and subscribe. I'm Chris. This is Movies and Munchies. Thanks for couching with me.